Hello class, this week's video will be on foreign policy bipartisanship. Is it dead? We had to start by reading the textbook and watch the video, which was called The End of Bipartisanship and the United States Foreign Policy, with the main speaker who is Dr. Charles Cupton. The doctor talked about how polarized the United States had become. In particular, in Congress, things are more divided than any other time in living memory. He goes on to mention how divided Congress is in regards to foreign affairs. He believes that we are more divided with foreign affairs policies than we are domestic policies, which is highly unusual. He states that from the 1940s to the 1990s, overall there was a good and healthy working relationship with bipartisanship within the halls of Congress as the American foreign policy would progress. However, as of late, Congress and the bipartisanship, which was so strong during that time, had progressed down to an extreme level. The doctor dives deep into what liberal internationalism is. From the 1900s to the 1940s, the U.S. foreign policy had flip-flopped from one extreme to the other. Overall, that would change when President Roosevelt would come into office and introduce what he called the Grand Plan for America, or the Grand Strategy. Somehow he was able to pull together both extreme groups from the left and the right and have them put their differences aside so America could get back on track. On a side note, World War II definitely brought the country together during this time. The Grand Strategy, which would include power and partnership. Now, for the Grand Strategy to work, bipartisanship would be the key to the whole thing. There's three main points, but for the sake of the video, I'll mention the last one. A strong bipartisanship had the strength and the courage to move forward with the Grand Strategy. From the early beginnings of World War II throughout the duration of the Cold War, bipartisanship was overall a strong force within the American leadership. There's a dip in bipartisanship as the Vietnam War dragged on, and the American public, along with elected officials, starting to believe that the use of force was not always necessary, and we could use diplomatic solutions to solve the problem. Bipartisan center, which begins to strengthen and regroup during the Ronald Reagan years, primarily due to the Cold War. However, after the Cold War comes to an end, America sees bipartisanship begin to take a polarizing stance. The doctor makes it clear that bipartisanship is now out at a level where things are stalled, and bipartisanship still holds somewhat of an influence on foreign policy. Keep in mind, he made this speech back in 2007. Overall, the textbook agrees that the video presentation with bipartisanship has been on a steady decline since the end of World War II and picked up briefly during 9/11. The textbook mentions that more than likely a partisan division on foreign policy will continue to be part of the American political landscape for several different reasons. However, if asked, to what extent do you think bipartisanship still holds influence on U.S. foreign policy, I would say, overall, from what I can gather between the video and the textbook, bipartisanship is not necessarily required to get any type of policy passed through Congress and the White House. However, having a unified goal is much better for the country than having extreme views from the left and the right. So, there it is.